All right. So, hello everyone. My name is Stephen Simon, and welcome back to C Sharp Corner Live Show. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone who is joining us today. As always, I'm your host Stephen Simon, and we are back with yet another episode of C Sharp Corner Live. And this one is Ask Me Anything. And if you are someone who are joining us for the very first time, we do this C Sharp Corner AMA show every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. IST and 10 a.m. Eastern Time Zone. So let us know in the comment section below to which location you're joining us from today. And this live show is going to be really interesting as we have someone very special joining us today. Gokan, he is actually an independent SharePoint and Office 365 consultant for Neoxy, where he assists customers with building innovative, intelligent, and responsive cloud-driven solutions. So it looks like we have a very senior person joining us today. Gokan is also a Microsoft MVP and regional director, which definitely tells that he's someone who not only works but is very much committed towards contributing to the community. So let's go ahead and invite our guest of the show, Gokan, for today. Hi, Gokan. Welcome to the live show.
Hello, nice to meet you, Simon. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Gokan. Really, really appreciate for your time for this live show. I know you're someone who is very busy and really appreciate. So, Gokan, tell me how are you? How are you doing during this pandemic, and how has life changed?
Well, I'm doing very well. Family's safe. We are home. We didn't move that much during the pandemic. It had a big impact on our life because I travel so much. I normally do like 45 events or 40 events per year.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and with the pandemic, unfortunately, we are not allowed to travel. I'm even not allowed to leave Brussels, which is I can't even go to another place into my own country. So we it's good. I'm with the family with the two boys. Life is doing well. Hopefully, we will get all together over the pandemic, and we will all come together and cheer together. Hopefully, very soon.
Yeah, until then, I think we'll have to live with these live shows, right? So, right, everyone's doing live shows these days. So, all right.
Yeah.
So, one thing that I really find, guests would say is the most challenging part is when you have to look at screen and no one's actually watching you, right? And that feeling when you are standing on stage, looking at the people, right? I definitely, I mean, you said you travel almost like 40 events in a year, and definitely looks like you're missing a lot. So Gukin, we did have an introduction video, right? We did talk about who you are and what you do. Still, as the format of the show, I would ask you to go ahead and give a little introduction of where you're joining us today, from what you do, and how you actually moved into community.
Okay, so my name is Gokan Ozcifci. I'm from Belgium. I have Turkish roots. My dad and my mom are from Turkey, so they went in Belgium, and I'm born in Belgium. So I have the double nationality, so you can consider me a half Belgian and half Turkish guy. When I finished university, I went to actually one of the biggest consultancy companies here in Belgium, and they literally showed me a book of SharePoint, 2007, and said like, "Hey, learn about that and go for certification, and we have to find a job for you." And that's actually how I did begin with SharePoint into my country. And since then, since 2011, I've been only doing like SharePoint, and now more and more about Office 365 and Teams. But like my whole career before joining Valo was about doing SharePoint, SharePoint Online, SharePoint on premises. And now I'm more focusing, since I became actually regional director, on more about the cloud technologies, evangelizing on how you could bring cloud-driven apps into your organization, and how you can actually be on the mobile first, cloud first era of Microsoft. How I did begin with the community is actually very simple. I just went to a session and I was amazed by the guys presenting and their knowledge. And I said, like, I have to learn. I have to learn and also share the passion, share the love, because I saw in his eye, like when he was presenting, he was convinced by his knowledge, convinced by the experience. And I said, I have to do the same. And I've been awarded MVP in 2013. So since like 8 years now. So I'm young and I'm still, that passionate of sharing the knowledge.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, Gokan. Even you look young, so there's no doubt on that. Right? So,
Thank you so much.
so Gokan, quickly, I'll ask you. I mean, definitely you do miss MVP Summit, right? I mean, everyone who has come to the live show, they often say that they miss the MVP Summit. But here's a quick question. When you say you are a regional director at
Yes.
Microsoft, what are your responsibilities and what you actually do? I mean, is it people who are watching us for the very first time, or someone who do not know, is it like a full-time job or part-time job, or is it a
Okay.
community service? What is all that about?
So there is a huge difference between being a Microsoft MVP and being Microsoft Regional Director. So
Okay.
if I have to explain in a few seconds, Microsoft MVPs are the guys who are technically very good at a certain product, at a certain experience. Like you could be extremely good into SharePoint, into Exchange, into development techniques, into Azure, and you do a lot of for that product. You do a lot like giving product feedback to the product teams, organizing events, writing some blog posts, articles, and you scope on that product. So you're an MVP. However, on the regional director side is you focus on almost everything. You focus on SharePoint, you focus on OneDrive, you focus on Exchange, you focus on Azure. And then what Microsoft is saying, like, hey, it's not only about the product, but it's also about the projects that you have been doing. So they look on which customers you work, they look on which projects you work. And then they say, okay, it's not about Microsoft, it's not only about Microsoft, it's also about the ecosystem. They will look to you and see in which projects, in which tools from Google, from Amazon, from X, Y, and Z. And they also look to your community engagement. Okay, maybe an MVP is very good in writing, but an RD should be good in teaching. He should be good in writing. He should be good in organizing events. He should be good into doing projects with big IP F5 in firewalls. And definitely, both of them are evangelization programs from Microsoft. And in both cases, you don't work for Microsoft. However, RD is, I think, a broader program um, that only, I think, if I'm not wrong, only 200 person are today RDs. So
Yeah, very
it's
few.
not, yeah, it's not like the MVP program where whenever you showcase that you technically know some stuff that you can get in, the RD process is like very difficult to get in. But once you get in, it's like, wow, you are
Yeah.
now an RD, you know that you actually have some few stuff to do into your region. It's very nice, actually. Well, whenever you got that email, like, congrats, welcome new RD, that's a good feeling.
Yeah, that's definitely looks a very exciting program that you are into. I mean, moving from MVP to an RD, and as you said, it's not just about the community; it's also about like you, what are your projects that you work, and something that you have shared very new. That is not just about the Microsoft products; it's about having a knowledge of the entire ecosystem. So that if you go ahead and if you are pitching somewhere, and if you need to tell that, hey, you need to have Azure and why not other cloud, you need to have a knowledge for that domain too. So that is definitely something very interesting, Gokin. So Gokin, what are we actually talking today, and what are we going to cover in next 20-25 minutes?
So I've been mainly focusing the last 6 months on Teams deployments at customers and how we could efficiently use Teams and what are the advantages of Teams and the drawbacks of Teams. Because with the cloud and the pandemic, everybody moves to the cloud because we want to do
Yeah.
our job, get stuff done on the Microsoft cloud, and the hub for collaboration is Microsoft Teams. Um, and when deploying those teams to customers and explaining in trainings to the end users, to businesses, to marketing, to HR, I found a bunch of cool stuff that I think everybody needs to know, especially if you have a SharePoint background like me. Well, you will learn, hopefully within the 25 minutes, that SharePoint is the heart of Teams, but you still have to know a few tips and tricks to clearly understand the impact of SharePoint within Microsoft Teams. So that's what I really hope to explain within the coming minutes.
Definitely, as you said, you have been working on Teams from past 6 months, and I think so is Microsoft has been working a lot, right? There's so many updates. I mean, I think they've crossed more than 40 updates, if I'm not wrong, right? During the recent past, they've
They have to because the market is asking therefore, because everyone
yeah,
is home, everyone is working from home. Well, almost everyone is working from home, and we have to still do stuff. And if you don't respond to the market demand, well, people will look to competitors. People will look to other, because IT people. I'm convinced of Microsoft. I love Microsoft. I will never go away from Microsoft, but people who are not into the community, people who are not into the ecosystem, well, basically they don't care. For them, it's remote work. And remote work with Slack or Teams or Google G Drive, they don't care. It's remote work. How
yeah.
easily it is, how better it is. And if Microsoft doesn't push so hard for bringing updates, bringing innovations, bringing new features, bringing new assets, well, they will be left behind. So it's good and bad at the same time, but it's a good thing that they're doing it, because all the new innovations that they will bring is actually a light opener
Yeah.
for all the businesses.
Yeah, definitely. I think engineering team they are really working hard for this, and they have really built a very good product. And they're still doing a lot of stuff. Couple of feedbacks, yeah, they're still improving it. Couple of feedbacks, yeah, they need to go ahead
Oh,
and take.
they have a bunch to improve. Honestly, there is a
Yeah,
huge list of improvements and demands and asks. And it's not like you're pushing an update to a little organization with 50 people. We're talking
yeah,
about Microsoft, and you can't simply just say, okay, I have a new update, just push it. No, it is really complicated to do some stuff. But
yeah,
yeah, a lot of exciting features, especially in 14 days, we have Microsoft Ignite. I'm
yep,
really looking forward with all the new innovations they will bring. It's gonna be a fantastic year
yeah.
next year.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to talk about Microsoft Ignite, what it is and what it's all about, right? We have Microsoft Build, we have this Microsoft Ignite. So definitely you can come back and talk about this Microsoft Ignite. It will be really exciting, Gokan. So, Gokan, what you say? Shall we go ahead and get started with your amazing demos and presentations that you have?
Let's do that.
All right.
Wonderful.
So, I'll pull up your screen
Yeah,
into the live broadcast now. Once you're in the slide, I'll put it.
I am in my slide deck.
Perfect. There
Okay,
you go.
so there we go. Thank you so much. I'm going to skip the first slide. I only have like 4 slides, and then we will move into the demo environment because I have a lot of to show. But for those who never heard before about Microsoft Teams or really don't know what Microsoft Teams is, Microsoft Teams is one single experience, one capability, or as Microsoft is saying, one hub for all the artifacts into Office 365. Like SharePoint, all the data is stored into SharePoint. Power Automate, PowerApps. You can bring applications into Microsoft Teams or even extend the automation with Power Automate. You have the new tasking engine that comes to Microsoft Teams, which will gather all the tasks from Outlook, from your team, from your to-do into one single experience. Having the conversations, audio, video, using even SharePoint framework solutions into tabs, the Office 365 or the new name, the Microsoft 365 groups model, etc., etc. All of those artifacts are actually under the hub of Microsoft Teams. So if we look actually a little bit more into the components of Microsoft Teams, this is how it looks like. Microsoft Teams is on top of every single artifact for the collaboration experience in Microsoft. So every single time, whenever you create a Teams, well, it will create for you a Microsoft 365 group, because this is the security model managed through Azure AD, where you can add the users, where you can see what permissions the users have, etc., etc. So that is the group model that they have. And every group that will be triggered by the Teams will automatically for you create a SharePoint site, will create a OneNote notebook, will create a shared mailbox, will still also create the Skype for Business artifacts. Because if you manage your Teams with PowerShell, you still need to have the Skype for Business artifacts, because it still contains Skype for Business DNA to create the Teams team. Then on the right side, you can see that you can extend your experience. You can extend the Teams experience with using the Power Platform, with using even outside of the Microsoft ecosystem and going to the Adobe PDF Reader, to the Google G Drive, or even to the OneDrive. You can bring your data that hosts somewhere else and mash that data into Teams and work on that data. And finally, you can also build your own application, which is actually hosted on Azure, and you can use Notification Hub as an example that we use at Valo, is to push notifications to your application or pipelines to monitor or use the media services into your Stream app. All of that is the components of Microsoft Teams. So it is a correct statement to say that if SharePoint is down for a reason, well, your Teams will have an issue because something will not function correctly. If your OneNote has an issue, well, again, your Teams will have an issue. If the shared mailbox or Exchange is down, well, it will have an impact on the Teams experience. One of the questions I get from the customers is, Gokan, can we backup Microsoft Teams? One of the biggest questions, actually, because those legacy on-premises administrators, they love backupping everything. But what they forget is, yes, it's cool to backup, but you need a place to restore them. And one tool will definitely not fit to backup everything because, as I mentioned to you, a team will create a group, will create a SharePoint experience, a shared mailbox, and a Skype for Business for the intelligent communication. But all of the features that we are using today, well, they use artifacts of those major features. Like if you upload a file into a team, well, it will use the SharePoint side to host the file. However, if you drop a file into a chat, into one-to-one chat, well, that file will be hosted into OneDrive. Another one, if you have a meeting on Teams and you just hit on record, well, that recording will be encoded by Stream and then bring back to you into Teams so you can have a look on that. So every single feature we have here is using artifacts, small feature sets that brings you the whole intelligence of Microsoft Teams. And yes, you can back up them. Maybe you need a tool for Exchange for the mailbox. Maybe you need another tool for SharePoint. Maybe you need another tool for Stream, right? So it's quite complicated. The storage is, I think, from an end user perspective, or even from IT perspective, the most complicated to understand. But that image, hopefully, will give you a better and a clear understanding how Teams is working. And finally, the last slide before we get into a demo, why was there a need for Teams? And why is actually Microsoft ditching Skype for Business? It's because we needed a place which is secure, scalable, and flexible for the digital transformation. We know that with Satya Nadella, the CEO, with the mindset of mobile first, cloud first, we can't rely on on-premise environments. We can't rely on legacy infrastructure if there is no reason, right? And we need a place. We need a place to collaborate. We need a place where we can just have information and check with our colleagues for data, which is secure, scalable, and flexible. That's Microsoft Teams. And people who still remain on premises, I'm definitely okay with that because you definitely need a valid reason to stay there. And if for X, Y, Z reason you stay there, well, you will miss a lot. The cloud offerings, such as OneDrive, which gives you actually more than 1 terabyte on data, the cloud innovations, such as AI, Delve, Project Cortex, lists, the cloud transformations, such as Flow or the Power Automate, PowerApps, all of that new stuff, we will miss that. And please don't forget, if you ever try to compare Microsoft Teams with on-premises, well, on-premises is still extremely complicated. I'm coming from a SharePoint background, and like doing only the user management, external user management, while on Teams, it's so easy. However, in an on-premise environment, well, my God, that's so complicated. It is complicated. So let's go now onto my demo environment and see just herein under my Teams how the SharePoint experience works with Teams, right? So I have a few teams on my right side here. I have my customer team, my intranet team, my files team, and I have one which is called the soccer versus football site, right? And that one is actually a team which is connected to a SharePoint site, because every single time if I go under the files experience just here, well, you will see, for those who have been using SharePoint, that ribbon, you have the new upload sync coupling, etc. All of that coming from SharePoint. And that button just here, open in SharePoint, will actually open my browser, authenticate myself. So I'm going to just authenticate myself, and then I will leave the Teams experience and come into the SharePoint experience. And what you will see is this is SharePoint, right? All the files stored herein are actually stored in the backend into a SharePoint experience. In a team, what you can do is adding a channel. And whenever you add a channel, I could say like C# corner. I can add a channel. Oh yeah, this one is not supported. But what I will do is C# corner. I will add a channel, and actually a channel, you can see this as a container into your Teams, where you will have a dedicated space for your posts, conversations, for your files, etc. You can just come here, add on a plus, and then hit here on SharePoint, and then or just here on documents, and you can get the SharePoint experience just by hitting on that and say like, okay, I want to add this one as an example. I'm hitting on next on that side, and then I can choose a folder, and I do want to say documents. I'm giving it the name doclib C# corner and hitting on save. And what will happen is it will go to that site, go to that document where we have found, and then bring that into my Teams experience. The main difference is that here you will see the logo of SharePoint. However, whenever you're in the Teams experience, well, that logo will not be appearing here. What is really easy with that one is that this one you can remove. This will never remove the files in SharePoint, but only the link into Teams. However, the files experience, you can't remove that. It will remain and stay here, okay? So if we go back into the SharePoint experience here, and what you will see is that actually what he did is he created a folder which is called C# corner just here. So for me, it is a correct statement to say that every channel we have here will create a folder into my shared document library. But here is a trick. If I add a new one, add a new channel, I will call it C# corner again. Well, Teams will say you can't do that because the name is already taken. So what he will do is he will come check here in, and he will say, okay, C# corner is here in my SharePoint, you can't add that. What I've been seeing with Microsoft and customers is they love using emojis. And let me show you a trick. And what you can do is you can say, okay, hey, I can add a $sign just here. And now suddenly from a Teams perspective, you can add a channel. I'm adding that. Now, the provisioning engine behind Teams will now create the artifacts of my channel, which is fair enough. And what we will do is I will come just here in the files experience and add a new folder. I will call it Gokan's C# corner folder. I'm doing it explicitly long just to show you something. So I did create my folder into my SharePoint experience. If I come under the C# corner without the $sign, well, that folder is available here, which is strange, right? We never created that folder here. It's a container, but now it looks like it's a shared container. Oh my God, that's not good. The reason of this is because SharePoint didn't correctly receive the $sign. And now instead of saying like, hey, instead of erasing the existing one, what I will now do is I will just use an existing folder and link it to the new channel. So basically, I'm using one folder for those two channels, which is not good, which is, I think, a bug, but that's not good. However, and here's another trick. I'm adding a new one, and I'm coming to here, adding a new channel, and I will say C# corner. Again, Teams will say you can't do that because the name has already been taken. What I will do is I will add a heart sign. Now again, it says, okay, you can do that. I'm adding that. So what you would expect from an end user perspective is that the folder would be available here again, right? No, it is not. And what you can see is now he could translate the heart sign. Wow. So if I come back to my SharePoint experience, and you can see there is a new folder. Now, suddenly, he could translate that emoji into an ASCII code, and my folder is created. Oh my gosh. I couldn't find a way today to know which emoji is supported, which one is not. And actually, even better, I still couldn't find a way on blocking people using emojis into channel names. This is a big issue today. If you want to use emojis, always be careful with SharePoint, because some of those actually don't really respect the naming of your channel. What I will do is I will say, okay, well, this one, I don't like it. I'm going to just delete that. And I'm going to also delete that as well because it has some data that I really don't like. I'm going to delete that one as well. The C# corner. There we go. Delete that channel. Okay, cool. What you will think is my data is gone. My folder is gone. However, if I do a refresh, what you will see is that folders are still remaining. Please, in your governance, always put something like, if I delete a channel, the folders should be deleted as well, or you will get a SharePoint document library like this one. It is full of examples. It is full of data that not being using anymore. At the end, you will not know what you're doing and what you're focusing on. That's not good as well. A bad thing as well with SharePoint is if I add a channel and I give it like Gokan sucks, right? It's very bad, but I've seen a lot of people just giving strange names to the channel names, or I've even seen like they have been doing like Game of Thrones, right? Like do something like that. Okay, which is like not professional, and they just do that, and they just add that channel, which will create a folder into SharePoint, and they just begin collaborate on that. And what I will do is I will just start, a new text, add that new text just here. But then the manager makes a command like, "Hey, Gokan, this is not good. You can't do Game of Thrones. Please choose something else." And what people will do is they will just hit on the three dots and edit this channel. And from a Teams experience, you can modify that. You can simply say, okay, this is like Project Cortona, which is more professional than Game of Thrones, right? From a Teams experience, wow, it works perfectly. And you will even see the notification like, okay, this has been changed by Gokan. And what you will see is that this is still working. However, if you come back to the SharePoint experience, I will just do a refresh to show you, I will find my document, which has not been renamed. Always be careful on what you choose as a name into a channel, because I don't know, for XYZ reason, the SharePoint folder is actually not being renamed. And let me show that to you. I will just create a new Word document herein. I will just give something into that document very quickly, and then quit the Word experience. I really hope just this one. There we go. I have my document. If I come back to my Project Cortex or Cortona, you will see the file will appear in a few seconds here. It just maybe need a refresh because I'm on the web version. There we go. My document has appeared here. So what many people will do is say, oh my God, I can't just say with this. What I will do is I will rename this to Project Cortona, right? It's the same name. And what SharePoint will do, hey, you can do that. You can rename a folder that's being used by a channel. And now it isn't called Game of Thrones, but it is called Project Cortona. If I come back to my team and just come into post and under files again, boom, it is not available anymore. It is not working anymore because the link between the folder that you had by the rename that you did, well, it is not working. Always, please be careful whenever you give a name to a channel that this has a side effect into SharePoint as well. Okay, and it's not only with the channel, it's also with the site that you have, right? So I have my Soccer versus SharePoint site, which comes from the Dark King. So my first team, which was Dark King, has been renamed multiple times. So if I just come here and edit team and then just say like, okay, C# corner, and then just hit on done. Well, from a Teams perspective, this will be done. It will be renamed. This one will be renamed as well after a few minutes or even like an hour. However, this one will never be renamed. And don't forget that SharePoint will take the first team name that you will be using. And let me show that to you. I'm coming back to my teams, and what I will do is I will just come here and create a new team. And I will create something from scratch, not from, and I will create, it doesn't matter really, you can choose private or public, but I will use a private one. And I will give it the name, the C# Corner Rocks team name, right? I'm creating that. What's going to happen in the backend is it will create a Microsoft 365 group just for you. It will ask you if you want to add some people into that group. You say just no. And now the provisioning engine behind that has actually created the SharePoint site for you, has created, well, it's still creating because it looks like I still can't access, but it's creating a SharePoint site for you. It's creating the OneNote for it. There we go. It has created. And when now I do open in SharePoint, well, you will see that it has the C# corner. He just dropped off the hashtag, but that's okay. He has the C# corner rocks website. So if tomorrow your manager says like, Gokan, this is not good, you can't use that. Well, if you do like edit this team, well, you can change the name, Project Cortex. You can change that one. From a Teams perspective, this will work. However, if I come back into my SharePoint and I do a refresh, well, this one will change. However, this one will always remain. It is complicated. It is extremely complicated, but those are small tips and tricks that I'm giving to you before doing the information architecture into your SharePoint and Teams to remember. Something else that I really want to show you is the co-authoring experience with SharePoint and Teams. We know from those who come from a SharePoint background, having co-authoring in SharePoint was extremely complicated. Honestly, from the 10 projects I've seen, maybe a half went like down. We couldn't do it, or we had a lot of issues. And look how easy it is with Teams and SharePoint. Actually, if I come to my project Cortona and go under my files, you will see that document maybe is not here anymore. What I will do is, yeah, maybe I'll just come into the general, just come under here, files, and then just create a new Word document. And I will call this Gokan's doc, and I will just create that. Now I have a document into my Teams experience. I will simply quit that experience, just close this. And what I will do is hit on the three dots, and then you can open this into three ways. You can open it in your browser, you can open it in a tab, and you can edit in Teams. What I will do is I will first open this into my browser, and secondly, just to show you, I will open this into my Teams. And what I will do is I will just bring this here, and then choose the Teams experience just here. So actually what you will see is I have I have the same document once open in Teams with the Word experience here, and then open it here in the Word Online experience. And look how easy the co-authoring works in both ways. So I'm going to just hit on one of those experiences here, and I'm going to write, hello, my name is Gokan. Hello, my name is Gokan. And then you will directly see the same happening on the Teams experience just here. And what's really interesting is if I just continue write a few sentences just here, and I say, and happy to be here. Oh, there we go. And happy to be here. And you will see that the same will happen on the right side just here. So the co-authoring experience is so easy to do that whenever you open your app, your document into the Teams experience or the Word Online experience, that you will see in real life, in real time, the SharePoint hosted documents being updated. And what is really cool and what I really love is that actually you can see the name GO in the word experience. And what you will see is this, the GO. It shows you who is actually doing the modification on that page. I've been struggling a lot to bring this to life into the SharePoint experience, into SharePoint environments and legacy environments. And look, it's simple, it's easy, it's very, very easy to do. Just use the online capabilities of Teams, and you'll be able to use the co-authoring experience of SharePoint and Teams. A final example before we close the Teams and SharePoint is what I really love is getting the documents even you're offline. OneDrive is a perfect example here for. Um, the bad thing with Teams is, well, there is a question, a huge question. Can we replace Outlook by Teams? The simple answer, therefore, is no, because Outlook has like a 22 years background. Everybody uses it, everybody loves it. Teams is here for 3 years. It has a long way to go until it gets 22 years old. And one of the major drawbacks we had is the offline capability. Yes, today we have the offline capability, but it's still a major blocking factor for a lot of organizations because you can't get the conversations, you can't get your data. And what I've been saying until we got the offline capability to the customers is, hey, use the OneDrive sync agent. And whenever you do that, well, OneDrive will download the documents that are into your channel and you can consult them offline, right? And one of the things I've been saying is use that button, use the sync button. And when you hit on that sync button, actually, OneDrive, the next generation sync client, will open and say like, hey, would you like to sync that document library? And as OneDrive and SharePoint both have the same foundation, well, what he will do is OneDrive will get the data from SharePoint, bring it into your Explorer view, and then you can just download that document with network and then take the plane, take XYZ, go on train, in your car, modify that document, and whenever you're connected onto your wireless, well, it will sync that file just for you. And let me show you a few examples. If I open my PC, well, you will see that I have a bunch of those folders actually connected just for me. And I have a folder structure which is into my Teams, which is coming from SharePoint because all of those folders and data is from SharePoint. And with the OneDrive sync client, I'm actually bringing that experience here in. And you can see that this file is always available, and this file is into my cloud. And whenever I hit twice on that document, well, that document will be downloaded and always be available for me into my document, into my PC. So that's it. I really hope you learned at least a few things with Teams and SharePoint and what you should be actually taking care with the naming, with emojis, with the storage, with the OneDrive sync engine. It is a fantastic tool to work with, but you need to know what you can do, and you need to apply some little governance to have the best of best with SharePoint and Teams. It was a long talk.
No,
A very long talk.
no, Gokan. I believe it was an amazing. I mean, there's so much to take away from just I think from last 25 or 30 minutes, right? You gave so many of these scenarios. You did talk about what are some of the challenges you faced. You did talk about the best practices and all that. You just didn't tell. You had a demo to go ahead and do it, right? And I really, I mean, I love that part that you use emojis, right? I mean, I would definitely use that, and I think many people would use it. But definitely, you said right. One has to check if a certain emoji would work. I mean, it may
Yes.
misbehave in it with respect to SharePoint, and also the renaming. And I think renaming something people would often go and do it. But looks like Gogan. Let me have your opinion. Don't you think it's kind of a little more complicated, right? Even a naming stuff gets a little complicated with that all that thing.
It gets complicated. Like those are very simple stuff that should be actually be done by Microsoft, but I've been begging them for 2 years. Please fix that, please, because those are small things, very small
Yeah.
things. But if you don't have a Gokan or a Stefan Simon into your organization who
Yeah.
doesn't know about SharePoint, who doesn't know about Teams, well, you
Yeah.
can be like, wow, how can Microsoft, a multi-billion company, still not fix that?
Yeah.
And then things get complicated because it's not a huge deal, honestly, like the emojis and renaming, and it's really, it looks like nothing. But I really wanted to get that off, but it looks really, really complicated for Microsoft. I don't know why. It's just taking time.
I mean, they might be some engineering team might be working hard, right? So they should be doing. There's a
And,
lot to improve. Yeah.
and please don't quote me on that. Please don't quote. Please no Twitter, nothing on that. But I think the engineering team, well, they don't talk too much to each other because it's like one is SharePoint team, one is a team, and they've been using the user voice, right? You have to go and vote for a feature, and then they have
Yes.
their metrics. They look to the metrics, they look to the user voice, and they're doing a fantastic job. But I think for some of those, and nothing related to Teams, but the calendar in SharePoint was one of the most demanded features I've ever seen, and yet, you
It's
know, I don't know,
okay.
like,
I think calendar should be there. I mean, I'm shocked. I'm not using this SharePoint all the time, but if there's no calendar, this is really shocking.
yeah,
Why?
we
Why?
have the calendar view in Teams, we have the calendar in Outlook, and like even the task engine that we will get soon in Teams will aggregate all the tasks from Outlook, from To Do, from anything else, and bring them to what screen. The question is like, why are we had we to wait so long for
Yeah.
getting that? And I know they can't do everything, but
Yeah.
some of the foundations, like you said, renaming is quite
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we are tech geek side. We can somehow think, okay, they will do it. We will somehow manage it, right? But
Yeah.
the other team members, as you said, they're gonna face a great problem. Let's say about the HR, right? If they go ahead and create a channel, and maybe if they go and change it, whoa, they may not be very happy with that.
Absolutely, absolutely,
Who
absolutely.
bought this? Who gave this quotation from Microsoft Teams?
Oh my God! And that's only like in 25 minutes. I can talk about because I have a workshop about mastering Microsoft Teams, where I talk about the Power Platform, where I talk about SharePoint, about the owned feature by Teams, such as tags, such as the whiteboard application, um, and people just love them. Just fantastic. Altogether, it's a phenomenal experience. Um, Is it perfect? Is it way better than Slack or any other competitor? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty confident, pretty sure that Teams is doing on a good way. They're bringing all of those excitements and new experiences into Teams. It's just requiring some time, but I really think I love the new Microsoft pushing, pushing,
Yeah.
pushing, shipping new features, and I think it's not only with Teams, but also with um, other
Products. Yeah.
platforms, yeah, products on the development side, as from the IT infrastructure side, they just push, and ship. I love it.
I mean, definitely, Google. I agree with that. We have seen how Microsoft has changed from 2014, right, when Satya Nadella joined as the CEO, and I still remember how Azure has grown. I mean, the cloud
Oh my God.
platform, right? So I still remember then in 2014 it was called Windows Azure, right? Not Microsoft Azure, and they had only like 8 to 10 different services like storage, compute, networking, and a few of them. And look at them now, over 200 products they have it. So I would go with you. I do love this new Microsoft. It's really amazing.
It is. It really is.
Yeah. So Gokan, you did mention about that you have a masterclass or a workshop where you do all this, right? So is there any link where people can go and register? Would you like to share that with that people? Is there any way?
There is actually a very easy ways to contact me directly, or
Yep.
what I do is you invite me to India to a C
Oh,
Sharp Partner event, and I'll be glad to do that. I'm going to the US mostly for SharePoint Fest and European SharePoint Conference, or at Ignite the tours. I've been presenting the Teams and the Power Apps and the SharePoint sessions workshops. That's the only way how I deal with sessions and workshops. However, if you are interested, or anybody who listens to this is interested, my Twitter handle is xgokan. Very simple. You just put an X in front of my first name, and I'll be glad to respond to that. And honestly, I told to to the founder of C Sharp Corner, which was also an RD. I just can't remember his name anymore.
Yeah, Mahesh.
Yeah. And I said, like, I have to go to India because it's on my bucket list. I've been traveling the world and I've still didn't do India. After the pandemic, India is my number one to go country because there's a huge community. There's a huge SharePoint community. There is C Sharp Corner, which is, like, I think one of the biggest communities in the world. So there is actually no reason for me to not go there. So I have to be there.
Definitely, I mean, we would love to have you, right? We always do these annual conferences somewhere around in the month of April, right? It was all planned for this year too, but this pandemic
Yeah.
hit us hard very bad. So probably we're gonna do next year in 2021, and definitely C Conan is traveling to Europe and US too. We are going to like 3 to 4 countries in Europe, so definitely we'll have you there too. But you coming to India is for sure. And to everyone who is watching, I did not the Twitter, but I did share Gokan's RD profile link in the comments. You can go ahead and click on it, and there you'll find his LinkedIn, GitHub, and all those resources over there. So quickly, Gokan, before we just wrap it, right? So
Yeah.
you did talk about some of the amazing features. You did talk about some of the challenges one would face, right? But there's a lot more to go ahead and learn and understand the ecosystem of Teams as you defined in your very first slide. There's so many components, right? So what are some of the resources that is there any platform where one can go and learn more about the SharePoint and Microsoft Teams together?
Yeah, two very authentic places to learn is the tech community. The Microsoft tech community is a wonderful place to learn because what they do is they also bring experts, RDs, MVPs, community reporters from all the world, and they all brainstorm together to write articles. So what you will see is the Microsoft standard view of doing stuff, and then you have like independent experts like me writing articles, doing stuff, providing feedback. So the tech community is for me the place number one to be. And then the second place is actually, you would be actually surprised, is actually Twitter. A lot of those program managers and a lot of those marketing people of Teams, they're all on Twitter, and they share a tremendous load of information. I've never seen that before. Like, you can't find this for SharePoint, you can't find this for Exchange, you can't find this for any development thing, but for Teams, wow. They share all of those articles, all of those sessions, all of those new experiences. I've even seen like people announcing new features on Twitter with Teams. And I can just, after the session, give you maybe 10 or 20 names. And if you just follow them, well, you will see how easy it is to get information from tech community, from the Ignite sessions, from the multinational events, from X, from Y, from Z. And that's how I do, actually. I have a few people that I follow on Twitter, which I know they will share all the latest information, all the features, all the experiences that comes through Twitter, and then I'll check on the tech community for more information.
Gotcha. So this is something new, right? Following people on Twitter to get the latest updates
Oh my God,
and
you you would be surprised. I'm not calling like leaks or confidential information coming around, but I think the Twitter platform is the best way to follow a few hashtags, such as hashtag Microsoft Teams, follow hashtag Teams. Oh my God, you would be surprised by the amount of Microsoft peeps and community peeps sharing their knowledge on that platform is just amazing. Honestly, it's just amazing. And and
yeah,
and what I really love is it brings all, because you can't know everybody. You can't know everybody from Teams. You can't know everybody from the SharePoint ecosystem. However, if you follow those influencers or if you follow those hashtags,
follow this guy.
voila, follow this guy, you would come all together and learn all of those new experiences coming to the platforms.
Amazing. I think so. Just to wrap, I think it's the community and the Twitter handles and the hashtag on the social platforms to understand how the community is working and how
At the
they, yeah.
end, it's all about community, and community is actually, yeah, we, and I am on Twitter, you're on Twitter, XYZ is on Twitter. Just follow each other, share the knowledge, share the passion.
Yeah, I personally need to figure out how well to work on Twitter. I understand Instagram a lot more. I mean, they also have hashtags, so I need to learn and understand how these Twitter things
Definitely.
work.
Go for it. Go for it.
All right, Gokan, that was an amazing session. I think you guys would have really loved it. There's so much of, not many slides, but definitely a lot of experience on how you can go ahead and look at some of the amazing things to go ahead and do with the Microsoft Teams. Definitely a lot more to explore. We are definitely going to love to have you back again in the C Sharp Corner live show, and for sure to fill your bucket list back here in India for this
I
annual
will.
conference.
I will. I will. Thank you so
All
much.
right.
Thank you so much, Stefan.
All right, Gokin. So thank you so much. I, Stephen Simon, on behalf of entire C Sharp Corner community and its millions of users, would like to thank you for your valuable time and contributions for your community. And we'll have you back and have a nice weekend.
Thank you so much. Cheers. Bye
All
bye.
right, take care.